Officer Ethan Ross was on his routine patrol along a quiet lakeside road when a sudden splash shattered the stillness of the night. Rushing toward the sound, he found a young girl struggling in the water. With no time to lose, he dove in and pulled her to safety. As she clung to him, barely able to speak through her terror, she whispered 3 heart-stopping words that would change everything. What began as a simple rescue quickly spiraled into an investigation that would unearth a dark, hidden truth. Welcome to Acts of Kindness Stories. In today's tale, we follow Officer Ross on a journey that tests courage, compassion, and the unwavering belief that every child deserves protection. Stay with us as we dive deeper into this gripping story of bravery and hope. Officer Ethan Ross's heart pounded as he escorted the young girl into the hospital. The echo of her whispered words, "Daddy did this," reverberating in his mind. In the sterile, softly lit pediatric room, nurses confirmed that while the child, now known as Lily, had endured physical trauma, her fragile state was stabilizing. Yet the chilling accusation could not be ignored. Ross exchanged a grave look with Detective Rachel Miller, a seasoned investigator whose piercing gaze had seen far too many cases where the truth lay hidden beneath layers of fear and manipulation. As Lily rested under the vigilant care of medical professionals, Ross began piecing together the fragments of a story that was as disturbing as it was complex. Initial records showed little about her family, only that Lily was listed as the daughter of a man named Ryan and a woman known as Marianne. But subtle clues emerged. Recent police reports hinted at bruises and repeated hospital visits, dismissed by some as minor accidents. A visit to Lily's elementary school deepened Ross's concern. Her teacher, Miss Carter, recounted how the usually vivacious Lily had grown increasingly withdrawn. When questioned, she mentioned that Lily often appeared anxious and would make feeble excuses for injuries, a narrative that no seasoned educator could ignore. Determined to unearth the truth, Ross delved into Ryan's background. Public records painted a picture of a respected community figure, a generous benefactor and influential local businessman. However, beneath that facade lurked inconsistencies. Financial statements and property records suggested a man who had swiftly integrated into the town's elite, his arrival marked by an almost too smooth transition into social and economic circles. Ross's instincts screamed that the pristine image might be a carefully crafted mask. In the ensuing days, Detective Miller and Officer Ross meticulously combed through Ryan's financial records. They discovered a trail of unusual transactions linked to a nonprofit organization he had established. The funds were shuttled in and out in precise, regular sums that bore the hallmarks of a payroll, yet no legitimate donors or documented charitable events existed. This anomaly raised red flags, suggesting a well-organized scheme that might have been laundering money on a significant scale. The possibility that Ryan's financial misdeeds were intertwined with the alleged abuse added another layer of urgency to the investigation. Interviews with close acquaintances began to unspool the tangled web. Marianne, Lily's mother, appeared conflicted during her statements. In private discussions at the hospital cafeteria, she admitted to feeling trapped and overwhelmed by Ryan's controlling presence. Though her voice quavered with remorse and fear, she maintained that Ryan was fundamentally protective, even as evidence hinted otherwise. Her reluctance to fully cooperate, coupled with her visible anxiety, pointed to a deeper psychological hold, one that might have stemmed from long-term emotional manipulation and abuse. Witnesses from child welfare services recalled subtle hints from Marianne, small bruises on Lily that were brushed off as clumsiness or playground mishaps. Yet when pressed, these professionals revealed that such incidents had grown more frequent and suspicious over time. Further inquiry led Ross to a local nurse, Ms. Linda Jacobs, who had treated Lily several months earlier for a minor injury. Jacobs described the pattern of injuries she'd observed, each one more concerning than the last. Her recollections of Marianne's evasive explanations and the child's timid responses provided corroborative evidence that something was gravely amiss at home. Jacobs's testimony, laced with genuine concern, echoed the growing chorus of voices that now insisted that Lily's injuries were not isolated incidents, but part of a recurring pattern of neglect and potential abuse. As the investigation progressed, the detectives also uncovered a previous legal dispute involving Ryan. An old case from another state had labeled him a person of interest in an alleged embezzlement scheme. Although the charges had been quietly dropped, the record left an indelible mark, suggesting that Ryan was no stranger to controversy. This discovery lent weight to the theory that financial desperation or greed might have been catalysts for his increasingly erratic behavior. Ross couldn't shake the notion that Lily might have inadvertently uncovered damning evidence, documents or digital files, relating to Ryan's illicit financial operations. In a tense moment of reflection at his cluttered desk back at the station, he mulled over the possibility that Ryan, desperate to silence any threat to his empire, might have resorted to extreme measures. Detective Miller then took a closer look at the nonprofit's financial trails. Working with forensic accountants, she mapped out a labyrinth of shell companies and covert bank transfers. The numbers painted a picture of a clandestine operation that siphoned funds under the guise of charitable donations. Every piece of evidence pointed toward a deliberate strategy designed to mask illegal gains. The more Miller uncovered, the more it became clear that Ryan's public generosity was nothing but a veneer, concealing a much darker reality. His financial acumen had not only earned him respect in certain circles, but it also enabled him to manipulate institutions that were meant to protect vulnerable citizens like Lily. In parallel, Ross and Miller arranged discreet home visits to monitor Lily's living conditions. Their observations revealed a household steeped in tension and fear. Marianne, though outwardly calm, displayed subtle signs of distress, a trembling hand, darting eyes whenever her husband's name was mentioned, and an unwavering determination to shield Lily from any further scrutiny. Neighbors, too, began to share their suspicions in hushed tones. Comments about Ryan's abrupt departures, Marianne's subdued demeanor, and occasional glimpses of heated arguments further fueled the detective's determination to gather incontrovertible evidence. In one particularly revealing instance, a longtime family friend recounted an incident from months earlier, a playground visit that ended with Lily's unexplained bruises and Marianne's furtive excuses. This friend, deeply troubled by the recurring injuries, expressed concern that Marianne's explanations did not add up. Every testimony, every subtle detail from school counselors, healthcare providers, and community members served as a critical piece in the puzzle. The collective narrative began to converge on a singular, unsettling possibility: that Ryan's carefully constructed world was built on a foundation of coercion, intimidation, and perhaps criminal intent. As the case began to draw media attention, the community was forced to confront the dissonance between Ryan's public persona and the grim reality reported by those closest to Lily. Every new interview, every record unearthed, only deepened the mystery of what had transpired on that fateful night by the lake. Ross's resolve strengthened with each passing day. He was determined not only to ensure that Lily would be safe from further harm, but also to dismantle the network of deceit that had allowed a predator to masquerade as a pillar of community. Through countless hours of investigation, reviewing financial documents, conducting interviews, and coordinating with child welfare experts, Officer Ross and Detective Miller slowly constructed a narrative that exposed both the emotional and financial abuse lurking beneath the surface. Each discovery was a testament to their unwavering commitment to protect the innocent, even when the truth was hidden behind layers of power and influence. Their journey was one of perseverance, driven by the belief that every child deserves a safe and nurturing environment. In the midst of these revelations, a subtle yet powerful message emerged. Integrity and vigilance are the cornerstones of a just society. The case was no longer just about one rescue or one investigation. It was a clarion call to look deeper, to question appearances, and to act decisively when the safety of the most vulnerable is at stake. As Ross and Miller continued to gather evidence, they knew that exposing the full extent of Ryan's crimes would not only bring justice to Lily, but would also serve as an important lesson for the entire community. Every step they took reaffirmed their commitment to ensuring that kindness, protection, and truth would prevail over deception and abuse. As the courtroom lights dimmed and the final verdict was delivered, Officer Ethan Ross and Detective Rachel Miller stood together, a quiet sense of justice settling over the community. Ryan's reign of fear had finally been broken, and the evidence of his dark deeds was now indisputable. In the aftermath, Lily, brave and resilient, and her mother Marianne began the long process of healing, supported by dedicated professionals and a community that refused to let fear win. Back at the station, Ross reviewed the case file one last time, reflecting on the journey that had started with a desperate rescue by a serene lakeside. Every broken record, every hesitant testimony, and every piece of evidence had led to this pivotal moment. For him and Detective Miller, it wasn't just about prosecuting a dangerous criminal. It was about affirming the truth that every child deserves to grow up in a safe, nurturing environment. Their relentless pursuit of justice reminded everyone that integrity, compassion, and vigilance are the pillars that keep communities safe. In the days that followed, community members reached out with their own stories of small acts of kindness, of neighbors looking out for one another, and of hope prevailing over despair. Schools began implementing programs to educate children on how to speak up and protect themselves, while local organizations collaborated to create safe spaces for families in need. The case became a catalyst for positive change, igniting conversations about child safety and community responsibility that extended far beyond the courtroom. As the healing process started, Lily's laughter, once silenced by fear, slowly returned, echoing in community centers and classrooms as a powerful reminder of resilience. Marianne, bolstered by support and newfound courage, began speaking openly about her experience, determined to help others recognize the signs of abuse and manipulation. Their story became a beacon, urging everyone to look beyond appearances and to act when something doesn't feel right. Officer Ross and Detective Miller, now hailed as guardians of justice, continued their work with renewed dedication. They knew that while one chapter had closed, the mission to protect the vulnerable was ongoing. Every step they took affirmed the belief that every act of kindness, every gesture of support, could spark monumental change. The case proved that even in the face of darkness, light could prevail through the strength of community and the unwavering commitment of those who dare to stand up for what is right. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. If you believe in the power of truth and the importance of protecting every child, please show your support by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribing to our channel, Acts of Kindness Stories. Our goal is to reach 10,000 subscribers, so together we can spread hope, inspire action, and continue sharing stories that remind us all of the difference one act of kindness can make.